If the members will please take their stations on the dais. And please take this time to go ahead and sign in to the meeting. Madam Clerk, can you please open it up for sign-in? All right. Good afternoon.
No, we're not there.
Not there? Okay.
That's okay.
All right, we're having technical difficulties, so we will have a roll call of the members present. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Bricken.
Aye.
Burkhart. Butler.
Here.
Kieringer. Chisholm. Dixie. Eldridge. Howell. Leatherwood. Littleton.
Yeah.
Martin Hamilton.
Present.
McCalman.
I'm here.
Miller. Mitchell. Moon.
All aboard.
Powers.
Here.
Rudd.
Here.
Rudder. Salinas. Warner.
Here.
Wright.
Here.
Crawford.
Present.
Mr. Chairman, you have 22 members present. You have a quorum.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. At this time, I hereby call State and Local Government Committee to order. Let the record show that Chairman Eldridge has been excused. Do any of the members have any personal orders before we begin? Representative Powell.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Colleagues and those in the audience, want to make sure you knew following this committee at 3 o'clock from 3 to 4:30 in 8C, the Tennessee Kidney Foundation is going to be having a kidney screening. My wife is actually the CEO of that organization, so I'd invite you to come, have your kidney screened, and participate in that event. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Does any other members? Representative Kieringer, you're recognized.
Thank you, Chairman. Just a quick little update. Most of y'all probably heard, but maybe not in the audience. But our sweet Kevin Raper is supposed to be discharged Friday from Vanderbilt to go to an area that's about 1.5 miles away to stay close by. They'll take him back and forth every day for labs and all. And they've told him he is getting released sooner than anybody they've ever had. He's like a week or so more. But I mean, you all, this just gives us chill bumps. And I just wanted to God is good and prayers have been answered. So please remember our colleague. And I'm tell you what, the picture they sent to all of us this morning, he's up walking. He's got the biggest smile on his face. You never know. I know he has to have some pain, You never know it. And his coloring and all, as soon as it wasn't even 24 hours they sent. I mean, his coloring and was better than I don't think I've ever seen that I've known him. And so I just can't help it. I mean, it just floods my soul with saying, thank you, Jesus. And we also, praising God for his great I just want to say he's probably not watching us. He's got other things to do, but we love you, Kevin, and we're all praying for you. And I think we might just see him here before session's over. I thought we might get to wave at him on a bit, but I think he might be here before session's over. That's right. And hey, we're only going to carry him so far. We expect him to be back. I agree.
I should have known better. It is. That is absolutely great news. And we give God the glory, because to go on the transplant list one week and have it done the next week, that is just unheard of, and it's amazing. So today we have 10 bills on our calendar. And we're going to be jumping around a little bit because other members need to be in other committees to run the committees and also to pass bills in other committees. So we'll be jumping around a little bit. Right now, I am currently trying to stall just a little bit till they get the voting machine fixed. Yeah, very good. So as soon as I get the okay from the clerk's office, we will jump into those bills. No. Just so you can get ready for in your notebooks there, members, without objection, we're going to take up item number 7 first. Item 7 is House Bill 823 by Chairman Lafferty. Chairman Lafferty, you are recognized on your bill. I've got a proper motion and second. I do see we have an amendment. Can you please give us your drafting code?
Sir. Yes, sir. It is, thank you, Chairman. It is amendment number 3834.
That is what we have. Got a proper motion and second on the amendment. Would you like for us to place the amendment on the bill to be discussed? Without objection, we'll go ahead and vote on placing amendment 3834 onto House Bill 823. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Your bill is now amended, sir. You're recognized on your amended bill.
All right, thank you, Chairman. This bill is set up to help. We've got a couple new baseball stadiums coming online in the state. We've got one coming online in Knoxville. We've got one coming online in Chattanooga. The purpose of this bill is to make it possible for those new venues to sell wine and spirits. The addendum that we just put on was an effort by some in Chattanooga to help kind of monitor the policing efforts down there. There apparently were some concerns about crime in the area, in the neighborhood. So this amendment was put in place to allay some of those concerns and kind of keep track of any increased crime or lack thereof, hopefully. But with that, I'll take any questions.
You've heard the explanation of the sponsor. Do any of the members have any questions for the sponsor? Previous questions been called. We're ready to vote. Madam Clerk, are we clear to vote now? Still be doing a roll call vote. Okay. We will go ahead and do a voice vote on House Bill 823, moving on to Finance, Ways and Means. Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Representatives Bricken. Aye. Bricken votes aye. Burkhart. Burkhart votes aye. Butler.
Thank you.
Butler votes aye. Carringer. Aye. Carringer votes aye. Chisholm. Aye. Chisholm votes aye. Dixie. Eldridge. Howell. Aye. Howell votes aye. Leatherwood.
Present.
Leatherwood votes present, not voting. Littleton. Aye. Littleton votes aye. Martin Hamilton.
Aye.
Martin votes aye. McCalman. Aye. McCalman votes aye. Miller. Aye. Miller votes aye. Mitchell. Aye. Mitchell votes aye. Moon. Aye. Moon votes aye. Powell. Aye. Powell votes aye. Powers.
Aye.
Powers votes aye. Rudd.
Present, not voting.
Rudd votes present, not voting. Rudder. Aye. Rudder votes aye. Salinas. Aye. Salinas votes aye. Warner. Aye. Warner votes aye. Wright.
Aye.
Wright votes aye. Crawford.
Aye.
Crawford votes aye. Mr. Chairman, you have 19 aye, 0 no, and 2 present non-voting.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. This bill moves on to Finance, Ways and Means.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, committee.
All right, committee, we're going to have to do this the old-fashioned way until things get fixed. So just so you're, can keep me in line and make sure that we do this correctly. We're on House Bill 1337 by Whip Garrett. Got a proper motion and second on the bill. Representative Garrett, you're recognized on 1337.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman of the Committee. House Bill 1337 is the piece of legislation that your volunteer fire departments or any nonprofits that you might have in your districts, when they want to hold a raffle, they have to get a license from the Secretary of State. I've had a particular nonprofit in my district miss that deadline. All this does is open up that deadline once the governor signs the bill for 5 days where they can have their raffle. With that, Mr. Chairman, I'll be glad to take any questions.
You've heard the explanation of the sponsor. Any question for the sponsor? Representative Martin, you're recognized. Previous questions being called. We're ready to vote on House Bill 1337. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Representatives Bricken. Bricken votes aye. Burkhart. Burkhart votes aye. Butler. Butler votes aye. Carringer. Carringer votes aye. Chisholm. Chisholm votes aye. Dixie. Eldridge. Howell. Howell votes aye. Leatherwood. Leatherwood votes aye. Littleton. Littleton votes aye. Martin of Hamilton. Martin votes aye. McCalman. McCalman votes aye. Miller. Miller votes aye. Mitchell. Mitchell votes aye. Moon. Moon votes aye. Powell. Powell votes aye. Powers. Powers votes aye. Rudd. Rudd votes aye. Rudder. Rudder votes aye. Salinas. Salinas votes aye. Warner. Warner votes aye. Wright. Wright votes aye. Crawford.
Aye.
Crawford votes aye. Mr. Chairman, you have 21 aye, 0 nay.
Bill moves on to Finance, Ways and Means.
Thank you, Committee, Mr. Chairman.
Whip Garrett, will you be willing to take up item number 3 on today's calendar?
I'm at your pleasure, Mr. Chairman.
House Bill 1039 by Whip Garrett. Got a proper motion and second on the bill. You're recognized on 1039, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Committee. What this piece of legislation is doing is brought to me by my Register of Deeds in Sumner County. And we're having a real problem with electronic deeds, lien releases, et cetera, that are being filed in our Register of Deeds office that are being fraudulent. So what this establishes, it's established certain vendors that can request and record those electronic documents. So the Register of Deeds knows if it comes from them, they can reject it. Otherwise, they have to record it as their primary function in the Register of Deeds office. It also provides for if someone has to hire a lawyer or defend their title, it says those vendors that recorded that electronic recording in our Register of Deeds is responsible for their attorney's fees and costs. So it's trying to tamp down the fraudulent recording of electronic deeds, et cetera, that could divest someone's property without them knowing. So with that, Mr. Chairman, I'll be happy to take any questions.
You've heard the explanation of the sponsor on House Bill 1039. Any questions for the sponsor? Representative Leatherwood.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Now, this only deals with electronic filing. It does not deal with paper filing. Do I understand that correctly?
You're recognized, sir.
Yes, good question. Because the purpose, usually when the paper filing comes in, they're either doing that in person or by mail. But this deals specifically because that's where we're seeing the most fraudulent activity taking place, because it's obviously a picture of a original document with an affidavit to accompany that original document saying it's true and accurate. It's hard to tell what that is. Usually if it's in person, or maybe it's a document that was mailed to the Register of Deeds, sometimes, not all the time, it can be caught to prevent that recording from happening. But this is a first step. We're going to be taking hopefully more steps to tamp down the fraudulent recording. But as this was related, it's just to the electronic vendors that are allowed to file that electronic recording in the Register of Deeds.
Representative Leatherwood.
Thank you for that. And I see it mentions the Uniform Real Property Electronic Recording Act, which I believe involves multiple states, jurisdictions. under this act. Do other states, other jurisdictions have this requirement or restriction as well, or is it a mixed bag within this act?
Whip Garrett.
I'm not certain if they have this specific language that this bill does and how they would combat electronic filing under that universal code. So I cannot elaborate on what other jurisdictions do. This is just our attempt to hopefully tamp down on those that can identify who's filing these electronic filings.
Okay, and I think this is,
You're recognized.
sorry,
It's okay.
I feel like I'm back in my freshman year. Of the Uniform Real Property Electronic is remaining uniform between the jurisdictions so that the things are recognized between jurisdictions. So if between now and I assume you're not going to have any problem moving beyond this, I'd be curious about that.
Sure.
Thank you.
Representative Bricken. Representative Powell.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It's actually a pretty significant problem. I've heard about this. Imagine all of a sudden, your house that you have spent a lot of, is probably your greatest thing that you own and value is all of a sudden gone because of somebody committing fraud and forging documents. This is an issue I think, unfortunately, members are going to see more of. So it's a good first step. And I know this is a problem not just in Sumner County. Davidson's happening kind of across the state. So really hard to believe that people are going about forging these documents and taking title to people's property. It's a long process to recover it, and you got to go through a lot. So good first step. Thank you.
Whip Garrett, do you have a response?
No, I just echo his comments that it certainly is. And it can be an expensive endeavor to reclaim your property rightfully. So hopefully this will tamp down on.
Representative Butler.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move previous question.
Previous question has been called. We're ready to vote. If everyone would, please try to log back into the system at this time before we take the vote. Okay, has everybody got logged in? You're in. Okay, let's try this, see if it works. If it doesn't, we'll back up and punt. But Madam Clerk, will you open up the vote for House Bill 1039, moving on to calendar and rules? Has every member voted? Does any member wish to change their vote? Madam Clerk, close the board and please announce the vote.
Mr. Chairman, you have 21 aye, 0 nay.
Bill moves on to calendar and rules. Thank you, Mr. Whip. Back to number 2, House Bill 546 by Leader Cochran. Got a proper motion in second. Leader Cochran, you're recognized on your bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and committee. So House Bill 546, it's a permissive bill that clarifies the circumstances when local governments may purchase construction and construction materials off of cooperative contracts. So just a very brief background, local governments generally already have very broad authority to use cooperative purchasing to purchase goods and services off of contracts that have already been competitively bid by another government agency. These contracts, that they can cover things like heavy machinery, furniture, printer supplies, flooring, light bulbs. My county just used one to purchase a very large earth mover for the landfill. But where the ambiguity comes in is for construction and construction supplies. And so, for instance, if your county school system was building a football field, the cooperative purchasing, you can use it to buy the earth mover for the groundwork, but you can't use cooperative purchasing to buy the turf because that's considered a construction material. And so there were several school systems that were not aware of this because it's not extremely clear about what a construction material is in law. And so it resulted in a number of our counties receiving audit findings. And essentially the comptroller's office just says, look, there just needs to be clarity. If it's allowed, we just need to clarify it in law. That's what this bill aims to do. I will yield to any questions.
Committee, you have heard the explanation of the sponsor of House Bill 546. We have had a request for a speaker, and then I will take questions afterwards. So at this time, without objection, we'll go out of session, and we will hear from Bill Otto. Sir, Bill Otto. Seeing none, we will go back in session. Does any of the members have any requests or questions for the sponsor? Questions been called on the bill. We're ready to vote on House Bill 546. Moving on to calendar and rules. Madam Clerk, will you please open the board for voting? Has every member voted? Does any member wish to change their vote? Madam Clerk, close the board and announce the vote.
Mr. Chairman, you have 18 aye, 1 nay.
Bill moves on to calendar and rules.
Thank you, Chairman and Committee.
Next on our agenda today is House Bill 444 by Chairman Halsey. Got a proper motion and second on the bill. Chairman Halsey, you're recognized on House Bill 444.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, committee. This bill is known as the Tennessee Property Rights Protection Act. And I didn't know, you probably know being in this committee, but lots of folks down here don't realize that under our existing eminent domain laws in the state of Tennessee, a housing authority or a community development agency can use the power of eminent domain to take private property from its owners and transfer that private property to another private owner for private redevelopment and private benefit in so-called blighted areas under current law. What that means is that you could have a 40-acre tract of land with 70 houses on it. And if, let's say, 3 of those houses truly were blighted, under our existing law, a housing authority could take all 70 houses in the whole 40-acre tract. So this bill fixes that, and it changes the verbiage from blighted areas to blighted property, which makes it say that you can still, by eminent domain or a blighted area or a blighted property, you can take a specific piece of property, but you cannot take other pieces of property that are around it that are not blighted, as the old definition would allow you to do. It still allows housing development agencies to take property in a specific way with the eminent domain, but it does not allow you to take agricultural land under a blighted area. You can take agricultural land under eminent domain for a public use, like a police station or a road or a bridge. It still preserves the authority of the housing authority or community development agency to designate a redevelopment area or purchase property through negotiated sales, or pay more than market value for a property, or contract with third parties like a real estate company or a lawyer. And like I said, they can still use eminent domain to attach a specific piece of property that is truly blighted. And that's what the bill does, and there you have it.
You've heard the explanation of the sponsor on House Bill 444. Is there any questions? Representative Powell, you're recognized.
Thank you to the sponsor. And I agree, we need to have protections in place for taking a property, something I consider very serious. My concern here is looking at the different provisions where somebody, the housing agency might be able to assume the property, because we've rewritten the bill, is that they might actually have greater capability of coming in and taking homes that may or may not be classified as blighted. So let me explain. So you had somebody that was a senior citizen or whatever, and they might have been, in long-term care, and they hadn't been back to the house for a while. They got a couple notices that they needed to cure some codes violations. I would hate to see that type of person lose their property because the housing authority got overzealous with the codes enforcement. So I just want to make sure that we have the proper protections in place here to make sure that we're not taking people's properties where we shouldn't be in that position. So can you speak to the process that takes place before a housing authority be able to take that property?
Chairman Halsey?
Yes, sir. Thank you. And thanks for the question. Yeah, the bill also says that they can't take it without 2 notices in a reasonable time. Now, the reasonable time is not defined in here, but it also allows the property owner to petition the courts for a 14th Amendment ruling on due process before they can take it.
Representative Powell?
Again, just back to my concern, I know we're talking about a reasonable time, that sometimes that can be very quick. I mean, I've seen codes enforcement be very aggressive. And I have an issue with that. People need to have time to cure and remedy those problems. I've also seen where people can try to take advantage of a situation where you might even have elected officials locally that try to continuously go after property owners and continuously turn them in. And sometimes it takes a while to remedy those situations. So just wanted to make sure, and I know where you're coming from with this bill. I'd love to, have you take a look and make sure we tighten up some of that language with the reasonable taking and reasonable time to cure those issues. Because again, I'd hate to see somebody lose their property because some city codes person was overzealous and too aggressive, and somebody's getting turned in for repeated violations because one of their neighbors doesn't like them. So anyhow.
I understand it. Thank you.
Representative Butler?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Sponsor, I just want to commend you for this legislation. As somebody that's had eminent domain exercised by TVA on my farm, I appreciate protecting property rights and not allowing folks to just come in there and cumulatively take an entire area when there's only 1 or 2 houses affected. So I commend you for that. Thank you, Mr. Sponsor.
Thank you.
Any other questions for the sponsor? Seeing none, we're ready to vote on House Bill 444, moving on to Finance, Ways and Means. Madam Clerk, please open the board for voting. Has every member voted? Does any member wish to change their vote? Madam Clerk, close the board and announce the vote.
Mr. Chairman, you have 19 aye, 2 nay.
This bill moves on to Finance, Ways and Means.
Thank you, Chairman of the Committee.
Item number 5, without objection, has been asked to be rolled 1 week. Item number 6, House Bill 695 by Chairman Baum. I do see we have an amendment on this bill. Would you please give us your drafting code?
It is drafting code 3678.
That is correct. Got a proper motion and second on the amendment. Would you like us to place the amendment on the bill to be discussed?
Please.
Without objection, we're voting on amendment drafting code 3674, going on to House Bill 695. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Your bill is now amended. Okay, all right. Amendment 3678 is now on House Bill 695. You're recognized on your amended bill.
Thank you, Chairman Crawford. In Tennessee Code, we allow counties to assess a mineral severance tax if those tax proceeds are used by counties for county roads. And when I mention minerals, I'm referring to sand, gravel, sandstone, chert, and limestone. However, in our Tennessee code, we have a cap on what that tax can be. Since 1985, that tax has been 15 cents per ton. This bill would raise that maximum in Tennessee code from 15 cents per ton to 20 cents per ton by July the 1st of 2025, to 25 cents per ton by July the 1st of 2030, and to 30 cents per ton by July the 1st of 2035. However, in order for this tax to change, the county would have to do it, and it would have to do it with a 2/3 vote. This bill is the result of an agreement among the Tennessee County Highway Officials Association, the Tennessee Road Builders Association, and the aggregate industry.
You've heard the explanation of the sponsor. Are there any questions for the sponsor? Seeing none, we're ready to vote on House Bill 695, moving on to Finance, Ways and Means. Madam Clerk, will you please open the board for voting? Has every member voted? Does any member wish to change their vote? Madam Clerk, close the board and announce the vote.
Mr. Chairman, you have 18 aye, 1 nay.
Bill moves on to Finance, Ways and Means.
Thank you all.
Item number 8, House Bill 23 by Representative Davis. I don't see her. Without objection, we'll roll her to the hill of the calendar. Item number 9, House Bill 391 by Representative Ashley. He has requested that this bill be rolled 1 week without objection. We'll roll this bill 1 week. Item number 10. This is House Bill 824. I've got a proper motion and second. Representative Freeman, you're recognized on House Bill 824.
Thank you, Chairman and Committee. House Bill 824 extends the funding of the Event Marketing Fund, which was created in 2008. There is an existing $2.50 fee that 50 cents of that fee is directed into this Event Marketing Fund. The fund was created to advocate for Nashville hospitality, community downtown, to get large visitor-generated events. Some examples of that, recruitment of the Super Bowl, the Music City Bowl, the Music City Grand Prix, CMA Fest, NFL Draft. And this just extends it another until 2032. And with that, stand ready to answer your questions.
Members, you've heard the explanation of the sponsor. Are there any questions for the sponsor? Seeing none, we're ready to vote on House Bill 824, moving on to Finance, Ways and Means. Madam Clerk, will you please open the board for voting? Has every member voted? Does any member wish to change their vote? Madam Clerk, close the board and announce the vote.
Mr. Chairman, you have 17 aye, 3 nay, and 1 present non-voting.
Bill moves on to Finance, Ways and Means.
Thank you, Chairman and Committee.
Back to agenda item number 8, House Bill 23 by Representative Davis. Can someone please check in the hall and see if she may be out there? Okay. All right. I'm gonna give her just a second here, guys, and if not, we will roll this to next week's calendar, take it up.
Well, the sergeant orange took off. I don't know if he heard that.
Dave should be signed on to this. He could run it.
Sign him up.
I think during this time of waiting, Representative Mitchell's going to sing us a song. Representative Bo? Objection.
Representative Mitchell wants us all to sing. He knows what we're talking.
I'm gonna have that song stuck in my head. Thank you.
All right, members, I apologize for the delay. She must have got tied up somewhere else. So without objection, this bill will be rolled to next week's calendar, and we'll take up the business on that then. Without objection, we are going to, we'll go ahead and roll that bill to next week's calendar. All right. Before we close, does any members have any announcements or personal orders? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. We are adjourned.